KZOM Radio presents Know Your Cryptids, an in-depth analysis and discussion of all the creatures of legends. Hosted by Matt Jarbo. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Know Your Cryptids. My name is Matt Jarbo, and I'm going to be your host for this episode. This time we're going to be discussing the fabled Mothman. That's right, the same Mothman from the Richard Gere movie, The Mothman Prophecies, which is based on a book which will be discussed in this. Looking up at, when I was looking up cryptids and I came across the Mothman, I didn't really realize exactly what it was until I read up on it. And it's very interesting. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of information here, but it gives you a good idea of what the Mothman is and what it represents and what to expect if you ever see one, which is the key. Okay, let's get ready to go. Mothman refers to the legendary creature reportedly seen in the Point Pleasant area of West Virginia from November 15, 1966 to December 15, 1967. Author John Keel popularized the subject in his 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, claiming that the Mothman was related to a wide array of supernatural events in the area and the collapse of the Silver Bridge. The 2002 film The Mothman Prophecies was based on Keel's book. History of the Mothman. On November 15th, 1966, two couples from Point Pleasant, Roger and Linda Scarberry, and Steve and Mary Mallette, told police they saw a large white creature whose eyes glowed red when the car headlights picked it up. They described it as a flying man with 10-foot wings following their car while they were driving in an area of town known as TNT, the site of former World War II munitions plant. During the next few days, other people reported similar sightings, including two volunteer firemen who said it was a large bird with red eyes. The Mason County Sheriff George Johnson commented that he believed the sightings were due to an unusually large heron, locally termed shitepoke. Contractor Newell Partridge told Johnson that when he aimed a flashlight at the creature in a nearby field, its eyes glowed like bicycle reflectors, and blamed buzzing noises from his television set and the disappearance of his German Shepherd dog on the creature. A wildlife biologist at the West Virginia University told reporters that descriptions and sightings all fit the sandhill crane, a large American crane almost as high as a man with a 7-foot wingspan featuring circles of reddish coloring around the eyes, and that the bird may have wandered out of its migration route. There were no more reports after December 15th, 1967, when the collapse of the Silver Bridge happened and the death of 43 people, giving rise to the legend that the sightings and the bridge collapse were all connected. Folklorist Jan Harold Brunvand notes that the Mothman has been widely covered in popular press, some claiming sightings connected with UFOs, and others claiming that the military storage site was Mothman's home. Brunvand notes that the recountings of the 1966 to 1967 Mothman reports usually state that at least 100 people saw the Mothman, with many more afraid to report their sightings, but observed that written sources for such stories consisted of children's books or sensationalized or undocumented accounts that failed to quote identifiable persons. Brunvand found elements in common with many Mothman reports and much older folktales, suggesting that something really may have triggered the scares and become woven with existing folklore. He also records anecdotal tales of the Mothman supposedly attacking the roofs of parked cars inhabited by teenagers in lovers' lanes. Skeptic Joe Nichols says that a number of hoaxes followed the publicity generated by the original reports, such as a group of construction workers who tied red flashlights to helium balloons. Nichols attributes the Mothman reports to pranks, misidentified planes, and the sightings of a barn owl, an albino owl, or perhaps a large snowy owl, suggesting that the Mothman's glowing eyes were actually the red eye effect caused from the reflection of a light from a flashlight or other light sources. The Mothman Prophecy Book. The book combines Keel's accounts of his investigation into the alleged sightings of a large winged creature called the Mothman in the vicinity of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, during 1966 and 1967, with his own theories about UFOs and various supernatural phenomena, ultimately connecting them to December 15, 1967, the collapse of the Silver Bridge. The Silver Bridge Crash. On December 15, 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed while it was full of rush hour traffic, resulting in the deaths of 46 people. 2 of the victims were never found. Investigation into the wreckage pointed to the cause of the collapse being a failure of a single eye bar on a suspension chain due to a small defect 0.1 inch deep. Analysis showed that the bridge was carrying much heavier loads than it had originally been designed for and was poorly maintained. Beliefs of the Mothman. Some UFOologists, paranormal authors, and cryptozoologists believe that Mothman was an alien, a supernatural manifestation, or an unknown cryptid. In his 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, author John Keel claimed that the Point Pleasant residents experienced precognitions, including premonitions of the collapse of the Silver Bridge, and unidentified flying object sightings, visits from mysterious or threatening men in black, and other bizarre phenomenon. UFOlogist Jerome Clarks writes that members of the Ohio UFO Investigators League re-interviewed several Mothman eyewitnesses, all of whom insisted their stories were accurate, and that Linda Scarberry claimed that she and her husband had seen Mothman hundreds of times, sometimes at close range, commenting, "It seems like it doesn't want to hurt you, it just wants to communicate with you." Cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman claims that sightings of Mothman continue and told USA Today that he re-interviewed witnesses described in Keel's book who said Mothman was a huge creature about 7 feet tall with huge wings and red eyes, and they could see the creature flapping right behind them as they fled from it. In conclusion, looking at everything that the Mothman represents, it kind of just, I guess, put it in recent terms, it feels something similar to what we saw in the movie Super 8. People were seeing something was happening, but no one really wanted to. I'm seeing a Super 8. I could be wrong. But looking at the whole thing, you have to kind of wonder, did people see this giant moth, and was it giving them precognitions? But no one was saying what those precognitions were. If it was 13 months to the day that, or almost 13 months to the day that they were seeing these sightings, what else was going on? What was it warning them of, and how was it warning them? So the steel bridge collapse, while a tragedy, doesn't really seem to fit. The Silver Bridge collapse doesn't seem to fit in the situation, in the mythos of the Mothman. But then again, that's just my assumption based on what I've read and what I've reported here and what I've researched. So I'm asking you guys at home, what do you think? Let us know at twitter.com/KZOMradio. You guys can get us on Facebook at facebook.com/KZOMradio. We're on kzomradio.com. You can also email me at kzomradio@gmail.com. And you guys can get a hold of us in any other way you can imagine. We're all over the web. So my name is Matt Jarbo. This is Know Your Cryptids, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good day.